want to go top to bottom or back to front?
So starting at 1 or starting at 5? Let's start at 5.
Okay. I mean, I imagine we're both going to have the same number
Yes,
1.
exactly.
Right?
Yep.
What's your number 5? Go ahead.
So I frame this as like most memorable, not the best game, but most memorable. Okay. So this is the only loss that's on here for me.
Okay.
And that is 2015 Eagles lose to the Lions on Thanksgiving. And I put that
Interesting.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, because that's one of those, like, when you say remember when games, like,
Yeah.
because that game was the first time you were like, wow, Chip could be fired here. It was just an embarrassing performance by the Eagles. It was the low point of that season, and it kind of, I recall being in the Ford Field press conference afterwards, and when Jeff McClain asked Chip what the problem was, and Chip didn't have the answer, he said, "Is it you?" Right?
Yeah, of course.
I remember that, and so I didn't want to just have like monumental wins on here. So mine was not the best, because it clearly was not the best game, not the best played game, and not a consequential game like from the significance of the standings. But when I think of my time covering the team, and you say what are the most memorable games, I'll always remember that 2015 game more so than
this is
any
a
other.
beat writer's perspective, not a fan's perspective. Totally reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, like I would. It's not in my top 5, but like of the first Sirianni season, I think like the most memorable game for me is probably the Raiders game. Like when they just got torched, and then Fletcher Cox sort of throws Jonathan Gannon under the bus in the post-game press conference. Like, to me, that was like the snapshot game from that season.
I just remember being in Vegas and how much fun that was. So
in the middle of COVID, we were just parading about. Go make me some money.
You can be outside. That's a great thing. Yeah, walk outside. It was beautiful.
I mean, literally nobody spends time outside in Vegas.
I did. I took a nice walk on the Strip.
Number 5 for me, the double doink, the playoff victory over the Chicago Bears in the 2018 season. I mean, not much to say about the game. I mean, that Vic Fangio defense, it was the best defense in the league. Can they move the ball? You got the 4th down touchdown to Golden Tate, and then obviously Cody Parkey has the double doink as the game ends. And I remember going to look at the smudge marks on the field goal that you could see where the ball hit both times.
What an intrepid reporter you are. That is awesome. I remember that game well because I had to rush home. I did Chicago that morning, Chicago that night, because Emily was 9 months pregnant, and fortunately Sloan waited until Wednesday, so I was okay. But 3 days later,
fantastic.
Yep.
All right, what's your number 4?
Number 4, 2018. I'm going London. Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is more of a personal.
I thought that's what you wanted.
That's okay. That's fine.
You said your most memorable games on the beat.
Yeah. That's fine.
Am I wrong?
That's fine. Go ahead.
So you can go on allphly.com.
But that's what I wanted to debate the ranking. That's fine. Go ahead.
All right. Sorry,
Vacation Mode does not care.
I misinterpreted the assignment. Okay. Going to London was seeing a game at Wembley. I was not brought to tears, but it was really neat. The cool thing about soccer press boxes, I guess, is that like you're closer to the field. You're outdoors. I just thought it was so cool being in London. I'm
Josh Adams running wild.
Jordan Matthews. I remember my flight. I connected in Boston, and my flight to Boston, writing a Jordan Matthews story. Didn't have internet. Was just kind of going based on my notes. It was.
Kelsey missed a snap because he got cleated in the junk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was real cool for me to be in London. I don't really have much context of London otherwise, so my understanding of London is football. It's very good football. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, this one, the number 4 is tough because there's the 2 games from Chip's first season.
Okay.
There's the first game, the debut, and then there's the Snow Bowl. I would probably put the Snow Bowl with a slight edge here for the spot. But in the story on the website, there is some disagreement between you and I about which of the Eagles games at FedEx Field is more memorable. You think that the Michael Vick 6-touchdown game when he throws the touchdown pass to DeSean Jackson on the first play of the game is more memorable than the Chip Kelly debut. I disagree with that.
Yeah, I disagree with you there. I mean, the Chip debut, you don't have to convince me. That was extraordinarily memorable. I think the line I use is the revolution's being televised, right? But I think to that Michael Vick game, given the way he played, the significance of the moment, like that was Michael Vick is back game, right? Michael Vick was such a polarizing figure. The player on the other team, the starting quarterback on the other team, is Donovan McNabb. Donovan McNabb signed a contract extension in Washington that day. It leaks right before the game.
I literally forgot that Donovan was the quarterback of that game.
Okay, yeah. Donovan,
how unmemorable that was.
I got to tell you, there's a chapter in a book coming out on September 24th called The Franchise about that game. Yeah, I look at that game as like it was national TV and Michael, like I look at Michael.
I actually
Vick
do remember now. Donovan's agent gave a press, like an impromptu press conference in the press box.
Yeah, and Donovan had beaten the Eagles 2 weeks earlier, or 3 weeks earlier. I was not covering the team then, so that is not on my list. I was covering the Giants. I remember I was watching that at Three Sheets in the West Village with a few friends of Julia's.
Julia has no idea if she was there or not.
Joy was not there. I would remember if Joy was there. Joy was not there. I don't believe Joy was living in New York at the time. 2010, Joy was not living in New York, right? Yeah, you see. I know, right?
Well, I know you know, but I'm telling you she doesn't know.
Yeah, so, but Joy would know all the people I watched the game with.
Okay, I'm curious what the commenters think. Which of those two games is more memorable to you? Because the Chip one was like, oh my God, look what we have. Like the first game of the Chip era, like as you said, the revolution.
Yeah.
Like we are going to take the league by storm, and they come out in that absolute breakneck pace, 53 plays in the first half. It was like, how is the league going to solve this? It felt like something completely new.
I don't think you can play quarterback better than Michael Vick played that night.
I mean, I remember two plays from that game. I remember the first touchdown to Deshaun, and I remember Albert Haynesworth lying down.
You got to read this book coming out on September 24th then. It makes me feel good that a bunch of minions are actually going on with my side here, because we're typically
that's good. That's interesting. I'm surprised by that.
Okay.
Number 3 for you. Go
ahead. Number 3 for me, I'm going to Snowball.
Okay.
And Snowball is one of those games that you always look back and like remember what it looked like, what it felt like. It was really just a fascinating. Like before the game, and I actually think, because I wrote about this in the franchise too. I'm sorry to keep bringing it up, but you did an oral history on PhiladelphiaEagles.com that I was looking at as a resource, and that it was really like fascinating to look back at. And I remember it did not snow before the game.
Like it had just barely started.
Exactly, and they weren't expecting that.
It wasn't supposed to be so much
that type of snow, and then a little kind of BLG was in the seat before. I remember in the parking lot after the game, another reporter, his wedding ring fell off in the snow, and everyone's frantically looking. And Brandon Lee Galton, eagle-eyed that he is, like, boys, it's right there. He found it.
Nice.
Yeah, so shout out to BLG.
Whose ring?
I don't vividly remember. I mean, there's two options here, but I don't want to say who it was.
Okay.
But yeah, both options was a columnist, but I don't want to get the columnist wrong. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. Yeah, the Snowball's a good one. For me, number 3 is the Miracle at the New Meadowlands, the Deshaun Jackson punt return. You weren't covering the team at the time.
I was covering the Giants at the time.
Well, there you go. But yeah, that one for me from that era is absolutely the most memorable game.
Yeah, and I got to say, from the Giants' perspective, like Matt Dodge, someone who I got to know real well that year, right?
Yeah.
Rookie punter, made the team in training camp. But really handled that in a classy way. I gotta say that. No, I
pretty unique player as well.
Yeah, I was assigned to.
And he was mature the way that he handled it.
Yes, yeah. I wrote the Matt Dodge story after the game, but I remember just how incredulous Tom Coughlin was.
Yeah, was it classy how Tom Coughlin threw him under the bus?
No, Tom was besides himself. But
yeah, I mean the spike of his folder or whatever it was fantastic.
But because the Giants were the Giants were really good that year, and I thought the Giants were going to make some noise, and that loss like really put them in a tailspin.
Yeah, and it made the Eagles look like Super Bowl contenders.
And then the next game was against Minnesota in the Joe Webb game, right?
That's right.
Yes.
There you go.
Speaking of snow.
Oh, so what's your number 3? Or you gave me your number 3?
I just gave you the snow.
Number 2 for me, this is a loss. This is the 2022, 2023 Super Bowl. The Jalen Hurts unbelievable performance. I mean, we don't need to talk about the game too much, but that's number 2 for me.
Yeah, so my number 2, I was debating between that and the NFC Championship game. I went with the NFC Championship game. Like I was writing about the body bag game this week for for allphly.com, and it's interesting. Like Washington had 2 quarterbacks knocked out that game, right?
Yes.
San Francisco is like you could say this was like a modern day body bag game.
I said that with Anthony this morning.
Okay, yeah. I gotta go back and watch that. And I just remember well seeing Hassan Reddick rushing around the edge. And yeah, but I need to go to the Super Bowl more because it is a Super Bowl, and they're going against Andy, and it was a great game.
It was a great game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game, and I got to spend quality time with you in Arizona.
There you go.
Paul McCartney saw you the night before, which was real cool. Yeah.
And you were searching for a Waymo, but you couldn't find one until
there was no
many
Waymo
years later.
There was no Waymo then. Yeah,
I know.
But, yeah, it would have been great if there was Waymo. We wouldn't have been sitting in the parking lot. Waymo would have just found its way. But you got to see Paul McCartney, so that was cool. Or Paul McCartney got to see you. Yes. So that's the best podcast host I've heard. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then number 1, we both have the Super Bowl.
Oh, you have the Super Bowl.
The Eagles 2017.
Yes.
Yeah. What do you have?
I don't know. I would like to make a joke about Eldred Buckley Carey or something like that. But yes, of course, the Super Bowl. I mean, what could possibly be more memorable than the first Eagles Super Bowl championship?
We all silly like the mayor.